Aunt who always tried to compete her daughter against me even though we were good friends all along tries to get me to lose for a final time because she couldn't digest the fact that I was getting married before her daughter, and she does this by trying to accuse my groom of trying to flirt with her daughter because she's just so beautiful and irresistible. But that day no one lost anything except for her entire reputation and her own daughter, who had this plan for her. I, 26 female, am in the middle of planning my wedding to my fiancé Jacob, 26 male. The excitement was sky high and I couldn't wait to start this new chapter of my life. However, the excitement of this day has been overshadowed by a complicated relationship with my Aunt Mona, 50 female, and her daughter, and my cousin, Amber, 25 female. Amber and I have been tight for as long as I can remember. We grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, took part in all the same things, and have always had each other's backs. But Aunt Mona sees our friendship as a competition. Instead of cheering us on, she often tries to stir up rivalry between us with comments that seem harmless but are really competitive. For instance, whenever we accomplish something like taking a test or getting a new job, Aunt Mona cannot help but say things like, "Oh, Amber is doing amazing things too," or, "Did you hear Amber got invited to that fancy club?" It is clear she thinks one of us has to be the winner. And she is all about making sure that's Amber. This competitive vibe really spikes up when it comes to dating. I have been with Jacob for 4 years and we are super happy together. We have even been talking about marriage, and I said yes to his proposal last summer. But Aunt Mona keeps pushing the idea that Amber should be the first to tie the knot, as if that is the way things are supposed to go in our family. When I shared the news about my engagement, I was over the moon. I thought my family would be just as excited, but Aunt Mona did not exactly share my joy. Instead, she turned the focus onto Amber, saying things like, "I just hope Amber finds someone soon. She deserves to be married too." It felt like Aunt Mona could not handle the thought of me tying the knot before her daughter, which was pretty disappointing, especially since Amber and I have always been there for each other. As the wedding day got closer, Aunt Mona started throwing out some passive-aggressive comments. At a family dinner, she casually said something along the lines of, "Weddings can be really stressful, especially if you are not with the right person." I was caught off guard because it was obvious she was hinting at something negative about my relationship with Jacob. I tried to brush it off, thinking it was just her competitive side showing, but I had a feeling that she is not going to stop at petty comments. A few weeks later, Aunt Mona hosted a barbecue for the family. It was meant to be a fun get-together, but I could tell she was looking for a chance to stir things up. During the night, she cornered Jacob and started firing off personal questions. I could feel her trying to dig for dirt on him. After she left us, Jacob was uncomfortable and he asked me if this was normal. I told him it was not, and we decided to steer clear of Aunt Mona for the rest of the night. What I did not see coming was Aunt Mona ramping up her game. A couple of days after the barbecue, I got a frantic call from Amber. She was really upset, saying her mom had accused Jacob of flirting with her. According to Aunt Mona, she had seen Jacob being over-friendly with Amber at the barbecue, and it sent her into a rage. She claimed Jacob was so taken by Amber's looks that he just could not help himself. I was totally blindsided by that accusation. Jacob had never shown any signs of attraction towards Amber, and I knew him well enough to understand he would never disrespect our relationship like that. I quickly reassured Amber that there was no way Jacob would do something like that, and she agreed. That is when Amber and I decided it was time to confront Aunt Mona about whatever she said. We were done with being manipulated and pitted against each other. Amber told me she was done with her mom's games and wanted to put a stop to it once and for all. We agreed to approach Aunt Mona together, but we knew we had to pick the right moment, especially with my wedding just around the corner. At my bridal shower, I was surrounded by friends and family, and for a brief moment, I managed to forget about the crazy drama with Aunt Mona. But just as I was unwrapping a particularly thoughtful gift, Aunt Mona showed up and the mood in the room shifted. She greeted everyone with her usual excitement, but I could tell she was waiting for a chance to make a move and say or do something. As the shower went on, Aunt Mona seemed more and more focused on me and Jacob. She kept making snide remarks about whether I really knew what I was doing by marrying someone who might not value me as much as I deserved. It was so frustrating, and I could feel all the guests watching me, eager to see how I would handle it. Aunt Mona finally decided to make her move. Right in front of everyone, she accused Jacob of flirting with Amber, claiming she saw him being too friendly. The room went dead silent as all eyes turned to me in disbelief. I could feel my face burning, not just from embarrassment, but also from anger. It was such a blatant lie and I could not let it slide. Before I could say anything, Amber jumped up. She looked angry. She called her mom out, demanding proof of her accusations. The vibe in the room shifted and the tension turned into a full-on showdown that everyone could sense. Amber told Aunt Mona she was done with her manipulative games and that her jealousy was tearing our family apart. It was a bold move and I felt a wave of gratitude for Amber standing up for us. Things escalated quickly with other family members joining in to back Amber and criticize Aunt Mona's actions. It felt like I was watching a reality show unfold. Aunt Mona, feeling cornered and embarrassed, tried to regain control, but it was too late. As the night went on, I appreciated the support from my family and friends, but I could not shake off the anxiety. Aunt Mona was losing her grip and I knew she would not just let this go. In the days leading up to the wedding, I was on edge. Aunt Mona tried reaching out a few times, but I just ignored her. I knew she would twist my words and stir up trouble. Instead, I focused on the excitement of my upcoming marriage surrounded by people who truly cared about me. On the wedding day, the vibe was amazing. The venue looked stunning, filled with flowers, fairy lights and everything I had dreamed of. As I got ready to walk down the aisle, I was overwhelmed with joy. Still, I could not shake the feeling that Aunt Mona might pull something dramatic. Right before the ceremony started, Aunt Mona came over trying to have a private chat. I could tell she was up to her old tricks again. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that this day was about celebrating my love for Jacob, not dealing with her nonsense. I kindly but firmly told her I was not interested in what she had to say. The ceremony turned out to be everything I had hoped for. Jacob looked amazing and as I walked down the aisle, all my worries faded away. At the reception, she was clearly upset that everyone was focused on me and Jacob. She caused the scene, loudly claiming that Jacob did not deserve me and that Amber should have been the one to marry first. The room went silent and my heart started racing. Just when it looked like Aunt Mona was about to steal the spotlight, Amber stood up again. With determination, she addressed everyone, thanking them for their support and for coming to celebrate my wedding. Then she apologized and made it clear that she knew Aunt Mona's behavior was out of line and that she would not put up with her mother's jealousy or attempts to cook up trouble anymore. The crowd went dead silent and I could see Aunt Mona's face go pale as she realized her plan had totally backfired. Amber's words hit home for everyone and it was clear that Aunt Mona had not only damaged her reputation but also her relationship with her daughter. Amber had made her choice and she chose to stand by me instead of her mom. As the evening went on, Aunt Mona tried to regain some of her dignity, but the family dynamics had shifted for good. People started to pull away from her and tales of her manipulative ways began to circulate among the guests. It felt weird but satisfying to see Aunt Mona struggling to get any sympathy from any after the wedding. I got messages from family members showing their support for me and Amber. They appreciated how we dealt with the situation and criticized Aunt Mona for trying to ruin our happiness. Now, as I look back on the chaos leading up to my wedding day, I feel a mix of relief and gratitude. I am thrilled to have married the love of my life and to have Amber as a strong ally. Still, I cannot help but think about how I might have handled things differently. Maybe I should have had a chat with Aunt Mona. Maybe I could have personally warned her and asked her to stay quiet at my wedding. I mean, maybe then she would not have been isolated from the family. So here I am asking for your thoughts. AITA for not confronting Aunt Mona about her behavior before my wedding and letting things escalate. Update 1. Hey, everyone, I'm back with another update on the ongoing drama with my Aunt Mona and her daughter, Amber, especially after all the wedding craziness. First off, a huge thank you for all the support and advice you gave me in my last post. It really helped me deal with the chaos of planning my wedding while juggling family issues. Since then, things have only gotten more intense, so let us get into what has been going on. As I mentioned before, my wedding day was quite the ride. Aunt Mona tried her hardest to steal the show, but thanks to Amber standing her ground, the rest of the family started to see through Aunt Mona's manipulative ways. It was such a relief to celebrate my marriage to Jacob without Aunt Mona's drama, but soon after I realized that the fallout from our confrontation was just beginning. A few days post-wedding, I started receiving messages from my family. Some were congratulating me on my marriage while others wanted to chat about Aunt Mona's behavior. I was surprised to learn that not everyone was on Mona's side. In fact, many seemed to appreciate how Amber and I handled things. This really eased my mind knowing I was not alone in dealing with the aftermath of Aunt Mona's behavior. Then, Aunt Mona decided to reach out and it was obvious she was still trying to twist the story. She texted me, trying to convince me that she was serious about everything she said at the wedding. It was almost laughable how she tried to present her accusations as genuine concern for my well-being. She kept insisting that she only wanted what was best for me and that her comments about Jacob were taken the wrong way. I was frustrated. I had made a choice to cut her off for my own sanity, and her reaching out just further annoyed me. I knew that getting involved with her would probably lead to more drama, and I was set on moving forward without letting her mess with my happiness, so I just ignored her texts. But ignoring her did not stop her from spinning her own story. It seemed like Aunt Mona had decided to go on the attack. Chatting with other relatives about what went down, I started hearing rumors that she was trying to make me and Jacob look like the villain in this whole mess. She claimed I had overreacted to her concerns and that my newfound happiness had blinded me to the truth. It was wild to think that she could twist everything so much and still expect people to feel sorry for her. When I talked to some family members, my worries were confirmed. A few reached out, confused about Aunt Mona's version of events. They could not believe she would go to such lengths to turn the family against us. It felt surreal, especially since this was all happening just days after one of the happiest moments of my life. Amber and I figured we needed to deal with this properly, so we set up a lunch with a few family members we trusted. We wanted to clear the air and put a stop to the gossip Aunt Mona was spreading. At lunch, we laid out everything that happened at the wedding, highlighting the confrontations and how Aunt Mona had twisted the situation. The support from our family was incredible. They were concerned about Aunt Mona's behavior and agreed that she had crossed the line. It felt great to have that backing, but it also made me realize just how competitive Aunt Mona was. I could not shake the feeling that she would not rest until she had turned the family against me and Amber. In the weeks that followed, Aunt Mona kept trying to drag us down. At family gatherings, she made snide remarks implying that Amber and I were teaming up against her. It was really draining to watch. One night, at a family dinner, she jumped right into the drama from the wedding. She painted herself as the victim, claiming Amber and I had treated her badly and were unfairly making her out to be the bad guy. I was already frustrated and this was making me furious. Here she was trying to twist the story again and I was done playing her game. Instead of confronting her head-on, I chose a different route. I calmly spoke up at the table, sharing my side of things. I talked about how her accusations hurt me and affected my relationship with Jacob. The reactions from my family were surprising. Many looked uncomfortable and a few even nodded in agreement. It felt like Aunt Mona's true nature was visible and people were starting to see her for who she really was. This gave me a glimmer of hope that things might be changing. Amber was a great support through all of this. She opened up about her frustrations and mentioned how Aunt Mona was trying to get her to side with her. It was heartbreaking to see how Aunt Mona would pit mother against daughter just to feed her own ego. Amber felt torn between her loyalty to her mom and her friendship with me. Aunt Mona's annoying behavior was tough to deal with. At every family gathering, she somehow managed to turn the conversation to my wedding, making it all about her. It was obvious she could not stand the thought of Amber and me growing closer. I could see her jealousy growing beneath the surface, which left me feeling both sad and frustrated. One evening at a family picnic, Aunt Mona crossed the line. She said I had stolen Amber from her, and I was sabotaging her life and not letting her succeed. She made a remark about how it was unfortunate Amber had not found someone special yet, hinting that she should be married before me. The tension in the air was thick. Amber did not hold back and called her out, demanding some respect and questioning why Aunt Mona could not just be happy for us. The confrontation caught the attention of other family members and it felt like everyone was holding their breath. Aunt Mona tried to twist the situation, claiming she only wanted what was best for Amber, but it was clear that the family was beginning to side with us. After that picnic, I got messages from more relatives showing their support for Amber and me. They voiced their disapproval of Aunt Mona's attempts to stir up rivalry and thanked us for being open about the issues. I felt a wave of relief seeing the family dynamics start to change, but I knew Aunt Mona would not back down without a fight. Time passed, and Aunt Mona kept pushing her agenda against us. She started spreading twisted tales about what had happened, painting herself as a victim. I heard from others that she was even claiming I had somehow coerced Amber into taking my side. It was really frustrating because I knew that this was not true at all. Amber was her own person, making her own choices based on her feelings and experiences. I figured it was time for a serious chat with Aunt Mona to set things straight. Amber was on board, so we set up a coffee meeting with her. I was a bit anxious, but I knew we had to confront her about the lies and how they were messing with our family and lives. When we met, Aunt Mona seemed calm, but she had a very annoying and smug look on her face. I kicked things off by telling her how disappointed I was in her for trying to manipulate the family. I laid out the facts and explained how her actions were hurting both me and Amber. I made it clear that we were done being pitted against each other and that her jealousy was toxic. To my surprise, Aunt Mona got defensive. She claimed she was just looking out for her daughter and that I had misinterpreted her intentions. It felt like I was talking to a brick wall. No matter how hard we tried to get through to her, she kept twisting our words and shifting the blame back onto us. Finally, Amber spoke up, expressing how hurt she was by her mother's behavior. She reminded Aunt Mona of the bond we had and how she should be proud of our friendship instead of trying to create a rivalry. Aunt Mona looked a little sad, but she still would not own up to her actions. The conversation wrapped up on a pretty frustrating note. We left feeling pretty defeated, but we were determined not to let Aunt Mona's antics mess up our family. I was really hoping for some kind of breakthrough, but it felt like Aunt Mona was too stuck in her ways to make any changes. Since that chat, things have been a bit calmer with the family, but I know Aunt Mona is not done. She is still reaching out to relatives trying to push her version of events. It leaves me feeling a mix of frustration and disappointment, questioning if we can ever really come out on top in this situation. With the holidays coming up, I'm feeling anxious about what is going to happen. Family get-togethers are sure to be tense. I am worried about what Aunt Mona might do next. I keep trying to figure out how to handle these family dynamics without letting her mess up our relationships. Even more. Update 2. Hey, everyone. I am back with another update on what has been going on with Aunt Mona. And let me tell you, this year's Christmas was anything but cheerful. Just a week ago, we had a family gathering to celebrate the holidays, and Aunt Mona's behavior took things to a whole new level. I can hardly wrap my head around the chaos that happened on that day. So, let us get into the details. In the lead up to Christmas, the whole family was feeling pretty optimistic. After all the drama and emotional roller coaster Aunt Mona put us through over the summer and after my wedding, we decided to focus on making happy memories and spending quality time with family. We were really looking forward to the holiday gathering and hoped we could finally celebrate without any leftover tension. We had planned a family get-together, but Aunt Mona was not on the guest list. Given everything that had happened, we thought it was best for our overall well-being to keep the vibe light without her around. On Christmas Eve, we all gathered at my parents' place and the atmosphere was cozy and festive. My parents went all out with the decorations. Twinkling lights hung from the ceiling, a beautifully decorated Christmas tree and the smell of freshly baked cookies. Family members brought delicious dishes, gifts were stacked under the tree and everybody was just happy to be there. Amber and I were thrilled to enjoy the evening with everyone and for a moment it felt like we could finally relax and celebrate without any drama. That was until the doorbell rang. I opened the door and to my surprise there she was, Aunt Mona drunk out of her mind. She was so drunk that she could not even stand straight or speak properly. Before I could even process what was happening, she pushed past me and made herself at home acting like she belonged there. Aunt Mona was already causing a mess. She said she wanted to make an announcement and said that she was there to spread holiday cheer. My parents were plain concerned about her, fully aware of her past behavior, but nobody was ready for what happened next. As she somehow danced around the house, she noticed a gorgeous family heirloom, a beautiful glass ornament that my parents had gifted me. I had always treasured it for its sentimental value. In her drunken haze, Aunt Mona snatched the ornament, insisting it was meant for her daughter, Amber, because she deserved it more than I did. Before I could even react, Aunt Mona hoisted the ornament up like some kind of twisted trophy and in a fit of jealousy tossed it across the room. Amber was left standing there embarrassed and in shock. I felt a mix of anger and sadness for her. She had been on the receiving end of her mother's jealousy for too long and now she was witnessing this chaotic scene. Alma froze and she was crying because of whatever Aunt Mona was doing. The room was completely silent as everyone tried to process what had just happened. Finally, my dad broke the tension, furious and disgusted by Aunt Mona's actions. He demanded that she leave, making it clear she had no right to come into our home and ruin what was meant to be a joyful celebration. Aunt Mona, still very drunk, started to argue back, insisting she was just trying to make Christmas special for Amber. But the more she talked, the more the rest of the family turned against her. Those who had previously put up with her antics were now completely over it. They began to express their frustration and reminded her of the disrespect she had shown to Amber and me over the years. Things quickly got out of hand. Family members began screaming at Aunt Mona trying to figure out what was going on, while Aunt Mona kept firing back, refusing to own up to her mistakes. It was a scene I never thought I would see at a family gathering and I could hardly wrap my head around it. The situation only got worse. Amber finally spoke up. She stayed as calm as she could be. She confronted her mother, calling out her selfishness and reminding her that the holiday was meant for family and love, not for jealousy and chaos. It must have taken a lot for her to stand up to her mom, especially in front of everyone. In the middle of the chaos, Aunt Mona realized she was losing control. She tried to regain some authority. She tried to play the victim and claim that everyone was against her, but it was too late. People were done overlooking her behavior, and everyone in the family was furious with her. My mom finally stepped in and asked Aunt Mona to leave. She could see how upset we all were and was not about to let Aunt Mona ruin her daughter's life and happiness with her toxic and narcissistic antics. Aunt Mona left, but she made a huge mess as usual. She broke a few things on her way out and she kept swearing at everyone. The whole experience made me feel really drained out. I feel like I lost something very important, not just the heirloom, but a family member who meant so much to me growing up. With everything that has happened, I do not know how to feel. The whole family had to go through so much because of Aunt Mona. I genuinely wonder if we can ever truly move on from this. In the weeks that followed, Aunt Mona kept reaching out to family looking for sympathy. She even shot me a few messages claiming she was just trying to show her love for Amber and that I was overreacting. I chose to ignore her, knowing that replying would just stir up more drama. Before long, it became clear that Aunt Mona was stirring the drama even more. She started spreading rumors suggesting that Amber and I were the toxic ones and that we had caused the Christmas mess. She was trying to twist family dynamics, hoping to turn relatives against us by playing the victim. Things got so intense that some family members contacted Amber and me directly, confused by Aunt Mona's accusations. Aunt Mona's latest drama really pushed us all to our limits. Her constant victim act and twisting of the truth just made things worse. While most of the family is backing Amber and me, there are still a lot of issues that keep arising as Aunt Mona keeps making things worse. We are kind of stuck on how to deal with her from here. It is obvious that no matter how much we try to talk things out or set boundaries, it just leads to more chaos and hurt feelings. The family is worn out, and all we want is some peace, but we are not sure how to get there without Aunt Mona making things worse. Update 3. Hey guys, it has been 2 weeks since I last updated. After the Christmas chaos, Aunt Mona took to social media to express her frustrations. She started sharing lengthy, emotional rants about how the family was unfairly shunning her. In her posts, she portrayed herself as the victim, insisting that her actions were all out of love and concern for her daughter, Amber. Mona twisted the narrative, claiming I was exaggerating things and leading a charge to turn the family against her. Her posts quickly caught attention with some friends offering sympathy, while others questioned her version of events. Things escalated as Mona kept posting more often, spilling private family issues and adding drama to her side of the story. She even tagged family members in her posts, trying to pull them into public arguments and win their backing. After weeks of turmoil following Aunt Mona's explosive outbursts on Christmas Eve, our family finally decided it was time to cut ties with her for good. The fallout went way beyond just a broken family heirloom. It really shone a light on how her behavior had been damaging our relationship for a long time. This obvious manipulation was the last straw for the family. We got together to talk about what was going on, and it was clear to everyone. Mona's actions had turned really toxic, and her unwillingness to own up to them was affecting us all. As we continued to talk, it became clear that cutting out Mona off was the right move for everyone involved. We wanted to create a safe space where we could support one another without her negativity hanging over us. Everyone was on board with this decision and understood that it was about protecting our mental health and well-being and just having a positive vibe in the household. In the weeks that followed, we established clear boundaries. We reached out to Aunt Mona to explain our choice to distance ourselves.